and I serve as their government affairs manager. And also, I'm the liaison to the 15-member governor-appointed Virginia Fire Services Board, which does the Fire and EMS studies, which is what we're doing out here today and tomorrow. So we were requested by the locality to come out and do an assessment on the fire and EMS around the county. So today we spent all day, we had to see some familiar faces, which thank y'all for coming, because we went out to Christiansburg Fire Department, Reiner, Elliston, and then today we also went to Reiner Rescue Squad, Shawsville, and then tomorrow we'll be going to Christiansburg, Blacksburg, Virginia Tech Rescue Squad, and then Blacksburg Fire Department and Longshot McCoy Fire and Rescue Department tomorrow. So we had to kind of break it up. Normally we'll come out and fit as much as we can in one day, but y'all have a pretty large locality, so we had to come and do 2 days. So we really appreciate all the conversations we had today. Everyone that we met with was extremely frank and honest with us and really open. And so we really appreciate that. It really helps in the promulgation of the study. So just to explain to you guys kind of how the process kind of is undertaken, so we come out, before we come out to conduct a site visit, I worked with Tyler and other county staff to kind of ask for documentation as it relates to fire and EMS in the county, like normal stuff like SOGs, ISO ratings, things like that. That's public documents that we can share just to kind of get some sort of sense of the fire and EMS service in the locality. And then basically that is shared with our research committee, which I'll have them introduce themselves here in a minute, which we do in conjunction with the Virginia Department of Fire Programs, the Department of Health, the Office of EMS, and then the Department of Forestry, which Jonathan Best was with us earlier today. He did not attend the town hall meeting this afternoon. And basically we will come together. Everyone in the study committee takes their own independent notes. So it's done independently, and we try and keep it that way in the sense of everyone makes their own conclusions. And we don't put a lot of stock into things that are said once, but as you kind of go around to all the different departments and you speak and you actually get to talk to the people that have the passion and the joy that the majority of you guys have for volunteer service, you really start to get a clearer picture of, the service mentality within the locality and how, how we can better, serve, or how y'all can better serve and recommend ways to improve within the locality in the way that you currently are providing service and things that we have seen and a lot of the members of the study committee have seen work around the state, because we do quite a few of these. We've done 3 of them last year because we've been working through the COVID backlog, but it is extremely helpful. So after we conduct the site visit, the study committee basically will get together. I'll compile all of our notes and put it into kind of a draft form. And then we work as a work group to kind of come together on the actual study. It's normally around 40 to 50 pages. Y'all's might be a little bit longer just because of how large the locality is and the pure depth of all the different fire and EMS organizations within the county. But I would say genuinely it's around that size. Once we kind of please feel free, come on in. And then once we kind of promulgate the study, then it goes to the full Virginia Fire Services Board before it is released to the locality. We do release the study to county staff before we issue it to the public. That way we can just make sure that we have all of our facts straight. We don't change any of the recommendations. If they said, hey, we don't like this, we don't change that. We do our own recommendations independently. We are just making sure that all of the statements that we're putting in there are factual and since are representative of proper data as well. And so that's something that we really like to make sure is that we have. Yeah, come on in, please. This chair over there.
Sure.
Yeah. No, don't say sorry.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, everybody.
And so more or less, we will try and after it is approved, then we will basically send it out to the locality. We will send it out to all the organizations that we met with. So I've asked for all of the organizational emails for all the different fire and EMS organizations. You'll receive the study from me after the study is completely finished from the fire board and it has been finally approved. Will come out to you guys separately. So that's kind of just a general brief overview. So what this town hall is for is number one, to hear from the public. We're not going to really talk about the stuff that we've talked about with individual agencies today. And that's another thing within the study. We don't details and names. So, if one fire department or, rescue squad or whatever said something about someone or something about the full organization, like I said, we don't do tales with names, and, we make sure that we're sticking to the facts and trying to develop recommendations that can really help y'all serve your locality to the best of your ability and just build upon the work and the passion that you guys have shown. I mean, we spoke with so many people today. That was such a powerful message that speaks to the true meaning of volunteerism. And you guys have so much to be thankful for in this locality. When it comes to just the years of service and the leadership that you guys have here is just phenomenal. I can say that, like I said, we've done for this year, and just the support financially and within the community that we've heard today is just really awe-inspiring. And I will say it's definitely something that is lacking, and you see it as a downtrend, but here is really different. You'll have a different type of community here, which is really, really inspiring to see. So I do want to have that one caveat. That being said, I'll talk forever. So let my team kind of explain who they are, and then kind of a little bit of their background.
Jimmy Poindexter. I'm retired battalion chief of Salem Fire Department. Past life member of Mount Pleasant First Aid Crew. I did 14 years of volunteer time with them prior to and in conjunction with my time at Salem. So I've kind of got to see both sides of the coin, and been in a combination system and a whole career system. So right now I'm just doing real estate and working on the fire services board for another, year, I guess.
Good evening, I'm Lee Day. I represent the Virginia Fire Services Council on the Fire Services Board.
I'm Abby Johnston. I'm the Deputy Chief of Operations for Bedford County Fire and Rescue, and I represent the State Firefighters Association on the Virginia Fire Services Board.
Good evening, Chris Vernovi, Virginia Office of EMS. I'm the EMS Systems Planner. I've been a career volunteer, rural, city, everything kind of EMS, also DOD firefighter, paramedic. So I've been all over the place and kind of seen a number of different styles of leadership and styles of organizations over the years.
I'm Michael Paris. I'm the Division 4 Chief with Virginia Department of Fire Programs.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so now the main purpose of this town hall, like I said, is to hear from you guys. This is an open forum in the sense of we just want to allow anyone that has the ability and number one just feels like they need to have something said about the current state of fire and EMS in the county. We'd love to give you that time to come, and you can either stand in place or you can come up to the podium. That is what this forum is for. So please, if anybody would like to go first, who is the brave soul? Sweet, come on up.
Can you tell us exactly what you're evaluating?
Yeah.
I mean, what is it you're looking for? What is it? Response time? Do we have enough BLS, ALS, all that kind of stuff? What is it? What are you really looking at? Because a lot of us have no clue other than you're evaluating our system.
Yeah, no. So our studies, basically the locality does not have to take the record. It is just recommendations. So they have no obligation to implement or, pretty much put into practice. Like, we were asked to come here by the locality in the sense, and we do it free of charge. And so there's no obligation to do anything. There's simply just recommendations on ways that we've seen that have been more successful. So, and it could be on a multitude of things. So I think one thing that we've touched on quite a bit, and this speaks to a lot of localities, is within EMS organizations. Like Virginia Beach has an umbrella organization where they have an EMS at the very top, and then basically underneath that, it still has all the individual organizations, but there's benefits. Yeah, there's benefits to be able to have that in more or less under an umbrella organization. So, but the things that we look at is kind of a holistic. So like organization, budget and central purchasing, personnel training, fleet design and management, obviously equipment apparatus, budgeting, operations. So we kind of look from a more of a holistic standpoint, in the sense of, is the county doing their obligation from a funding standpoint? What are the big gaps that are missing? And it's not more or less a individual department, it's more of a system, and how can that system run more efficiently to better serve the county in that aspect. That makes sense.
And in the process of doing this study, it's very likely that it could also help the individual departments and crews operate efficiently. Maybe take a little pressure off of them as well with some, if with some improvements that may be suggested. And that's just in a general study. If you look on the DFP website, there's some past studies on there, and you can look at those to see what those studies do to give you a better idea if you want to see how one reads what's exactly in there.
If anyone else have any other questions, please feel free. This is your time. We're online. I know we have online as well. Yeah, of course.
How
Let's say
big
something.
are your departments?
Sorry.
You say you're from Salem, the other one is from where's the other
Bedford
one?
County.
Okay, how big are your departments as comparison to, for example, Montgomery County? Services here in Christiansburg?
City of Salem is 14 square miles, so obviously on the miles, we're nowhere near it. We have about a 5,000 run call volume with 3 stations, 2 engines, a ladder, and 3 medic units, battalion chief and EMS supervisor. We're small. We're a city. And I will let Abby answer for Bedford. Bedford's gonna be more related, I think, to Montgomery County.
Bedford County is a combination system. We are almost 800 square miles. And we have about 80,000 residents, mostly rural, but we do have some more densely populated kind of suburban areas. We have 12 independent individual volunteer fire departments in our county. And we had that many volunteer rescue squads, but we've seen that decline over the last 10 years. And now about 97% of the EMS treatment and transport is provided by career staff in Bedford County, which we took on career staff about 15 years ago.
So they're okay.
We have 50
Not
career,
department. the
we have 50
career
career
ones,
staff.
okay.
and then we still do have some rescue squads that absolutely supplement them.
What is it that you guys are doing that is making a big difference as far as trying to recruit more volunteers?
Yeah, man, I think there's a lot of different things, and more or less in this also, and it's not just us that work on the study as well. We do have the 15 member board. We actually put out to them because a lot of those are fire chiefs as well, or have like I said, have come up through the ranks, and that's why they've gotten the chance to sit on the board. I don't think we would really speak to any of the recommendations that we would kind of put in. I think we'd rather kind of wait to the report in the sense of what we would kind of suggest. Unless anybody has any suggestions that they more or less with EMS.
It's a full encompassing, it's a systematic approach. We need to make sure that everywhere we go, whether it's here or it's in a large city, it's a systematic approach trying to be recruit and retention. And we need to make sure that we're doing a full broad sweep, trying to get our volunteers into place. And then the other side that's as important, if not more important, is the retention of those volunteers. And we're seeing it not only on the volunteer aspect, but also on career aspects across not just Virginia, but everywhere across the country, that there's such a shortage of fire and EMS personnel and a lot of healthcare professions right now, that people are moving rapidly from one agency to another, to another, to another. And it's not just in the career side. Volunteers are moving from one agency to another fairly frequently as well. So again, that retention aspect is a very large component.
Yeah, and I would say, I don't think there's ever a golden key for any way in any locality, because I think everything is different in the sense of community-based and how you kind of are framing up, the service part. I think is definitely different upon locality to locality, and it differs. So it's hard for us as when we do these studies to say we have the golden key, but all we can do is see things that have worked and suggest those. So
Is this a volunteer service that you're providing to our community, or is this a paid service that the county has to pay for you
Study.
guys to study?
it's free, 100% free.
Well, thank you so much for coming over here to Montgomery County and our area just to bring those services to us. And we have a wonderful volunteer rescue squad department and fire department, and it's just we're really blessed here in Montgomery County too. So
I would agree 100%.
And for of course, we see some faces we saw today. We see some that we haven't seen. So I don't know who is part of the public safety service, who are citizens, civilian citizens, I guess. Just so you understand, if you're a civilian citizen, volunteerism as a whole in the United States is a downward trend. It's not just fire and EMS. And we talked about it earlier today, Lions Club, all these different groups, MDA, everybody uses volunteers, American Heart. They're seeing a decline, and that is just the way of life that's coming about. And so the problem is with EMS, as that volunteerism declines some, and the people that are there get older, they're going to have to eventually step out. They're not physically going to be able to do it. And the call volume is increasing exponentially. And that's a nationwide problem. There's other programs that people are putting in place to try and curb that. But so that is why it is more prevalent or seen in the fire and EMS field, especially the EMS field. I don't know what your numbers were, but I'll guarantee you they were 50% less 25 years ago in the EMS realm than what they are now. And you probably had twice as many volunteers offered the service. So when we talk about volunteers and the issue with that, that is why it's not just, I just want to make the point, it's not just public safety service. It's a national problem across the board for any organization that needs volunteers.
So that leads to the question of response time then. So are you going to provide us with recommendations on how to, if we're getting more calls and less people, then, I mean, you do the math, it says we can't respond to everything. You'll give us recommendations on how to improve upon that somehow or another?
It's tough. I think that more or less we're more focused on, obviously we have the recruitment and retention piece, which obviously with, response times, if you have less people, obviously that makes it extremely difficult. And so, I think that we have seen a lot of those trends, and we've seen a lot of localities take a lot of different steps. And we talked a lot about that this morning with the county administration in the sense of how do we increase retention and recruitment in the locality. And then, also how you guys work together. I think we've talked about a lot of that as well. And like I said, this community itself, you have a very great volunteer base, but I think it's about how do you leverage that in the sense of working together in solving those issues, because y'all do have to serve such a large land base. I know that can definitely be a huge issue. So I think from that standpoint, without going into the large recommendations, I think that we'll try and tackle that. But it would be tough to say, the golden key of how to fix that, I guess. But I think all of our recommendations would kind of hinge upon ways that would touch to help improve that. Yes, sir, please.
I'm actually a volunteer. I've been for about 29 years in the county. So I've got relations with all the squads and the fire departments and all. But I don't even know where to start here because I have 3 million questions. But, the thing I haven't heard anything about is I don't think anybody's going to debate the issues. I mean, you can go to any firehouse, any rescue squad, and you can hear every perception of what's going on in their world. And you can hear the same story, 2 totally different sides at 2 different places. None of that's fact, okay? And that's the thing that kind of worries me is that, I guess I think the county, and this is where I'll probably lose a couple friends, county needs to step up, the town and the county and all the politicians, because you rely too much on the volunteers. This county has grown way too much for what the volunteers have done. I'm a diehard volunteer. I've been doing it for 29 years and I probably won't ever do it paid because I'm here for the citizens. I'm out there, but for nobody in the county to just to do anything about it, and just because this is, to me, feels like more of a facade than the truth fix. You can ask anybody's opinion, they'll tell you whatever, but at the end of the day, county is outrunning what they have available. If the facts show that the volunteers are going down, and I totally agree with you, I don't think anybody's going to do that, going to them and asking them for more and more and more and doing more and more and more with no help is not gonna fix anything. And, you know, a couple of things that I've seen in the county, and I watch it, because I'm not a part of any of the management. And I stay out of that, because I don't want no part of it, because it's a big problem. But not charging for service in the healthcare field is ridiculous in my world. It's a covered insurance thing, and for the county not to charge, or for a town not to charge for services, is throwing away free money that you can get, that me as a taxpayer is already paying. And they're just saying, no, we're gonna give it to you for free. We'll take it from our own citizens. That's how I view it as a citizen. You know, you have that side of it, then you have the whole volunteer and paid. You know, I'm in a department that is going through a lot of those growing changes where it used to be diehard volunteer. A lot of us older guys are like, we don't like it. I don't care whether I'm paid or not. I don't think anybody in that station, I can tell you that when I volunteer, I don't know who's paid and who's not, because people go paid. And honestly, I don't really care, as long as there's people in that station and they can run the calls. That, to me, is all that matters. But I also have worked local government, I've worked state government paid, and I understand that you can want everything for free, but at the end of the day, there's nothing free. It's got to come from somewhere. So, you know, we can thank the volunteers and show all this. That's all good, but at the end of the day, it ain't good enough. And I mean, that's really for the people at the counties that make those decisions, the towns, because it's not. And if you're not supplying these squads in the fire departments with what they need, I mean, if they, you know, I don't even know you, but if you're talking about response times, yeah. I mean, I've gone down to Shawsville, and the people are super nice down there. They just don't have anybody, you know, and those, they have to work, they have to support their families too, but there's nobody else down there. And, you know, but here's the deal. If I live in Christiansburg and a truck has to go down there to cover their calls, well, guess what? My family's not getting taken care of here because they're elsewhere. And I know that it's hard to do that, but I haven't seen much of anything for these rural areas where they're trying to help them. You know, it's, and I say they generically because I don't know the answer, but you know, if you're not if you're giving this stuff for free, man, that just lowers your thought of the healthcare system right there. If you're not looking at supplementing them when they're having trouble getting their calls answered, that's there too. But you know, are y'all looking at factual data, like how many times other areas are going to move around and this and that? All that's being researched, or
Yes.
is it just
Yes.
Data is a big part of it, because that's the one thing that's not emotional. And we acknowledge very respectfully what an emotional situation this can be from a lot of different perspectives. So it has to be, in some respects, data certainly has to be one of the factors considered. And to your point, sir, I think that the primary reason that we're here is because your local government is realizing that there are service delivery gaps. And while they are fully aware what a strong contingent of volunteers you still have in this county, they realize there's service delivery gaps. And I think everybody does. And so that's why we're here, is to try to shed light on those areas where perhaps some action could be taken to try to bridge those gaps, but also while supporting that contingency of volunteers that do a phenomenal job. But you're suffering the same thing that, you know, unfortunately the rest of the country is suffering, and it's not unique. Right now it's raw to you because we're here talking about it, but that's certainly going to be one of the components is the data piece of it.
And as I said, I mean, before, prior to coming here, you know, I requested, I think I had our full packet was over 200 pages of raw data of call volumes, of ISO ratings from departments, just collecting raw data that's in paper format that is directly from departments. And we worked with the county to help get that liaison that, so that we would have more of a context. But like you said, I think it's always that we're people, you know, and that's a huge aspect. That's why we like to come out and have this sort of forum, in the sense of we want to talk, because I could sit in Richmond and type on my computer all the stuff on paper, but until you go out and meet the people that are doing the work and talk to them, what works, what doesn't, do you guys get along with this department or that department? And then we can really start to get a clearer picture. And that's what this is all about. So I think it's an important aspect of the holistic study. And at the same time, and as Abby alluded to, The fact that you guys already have a commission that's ready to, more or less, once the study is over, to look at recommendations and help develop that's already in place. I've never seen that at any locality that we've ever done a study for, that has already had it in place before we even came to do the study. I was completely shocked. If you could tell Tyler, when I said that, I was like, he was like, yeah, we got the commission. I need to let them know what's going on. So I think it's extremely important in the sense of how you guys take steps, and the county understands that there are gaps. And I think this is kind of just the first step.
And the county's in an excellent shape as far as equipment. It is great that the county has been able to provide the equipment that they have and the stations and things. So you're already miles ahead on a certain aspect, because a lot of places that studies take place, the first thing they have to decide is where the money comes from to build the infrastructure. You've got the equipment. The most valuable resource that we can't go to a vendor and get is people. And they're our most valuable resource. That's who's actually running the calls. So the equipment side is very nice. And that's one thing that you don't have to, that's not a big chunk or a hurdle that you're trying to cross before you start looking at how are we going to help our members and retain our volunteers. So I applaud the county on that aspect of maintaining a quality fleet.
And to kind of expand on that, the fact that the county's already extended into financial supporting of all the agencies as much as they have. The majority of these agencies and jurisdictions that we go into, most of them, when we say how much is the county giving you in financial support, a lot of times it's the most we get is the county sticker. Or they might give us a little bit of money towards our insurance, or they might give us a little bit of money to loan us to help get a piece of apparatus, versus you guys are on the aspect of, fundraising is more of an option if you want to have extra stuff to be able to put on versus that actual whole operation. So, one of those main things that we're always trying to work on moving forward, you guys already have that infrastructure as well. So you're already, 5 steps ahead. So I think it's going to be a little bit of an easier transition to help get you guys those extra 30 steps that you may need.
And the areas where you're currently could be seeing response time changes, or as far as what's taxing the system right now, you spoke of going to another area. Those citizens down there deserve a level of coverage also. But we're also seeing that the areas that were at one time a more rural area is now becoming very densely populated at a fast rate, faster than the area has been able to keep up with on the volunteer side. And that, speaking today of trying, how do we leverage the people that is moving into those areas? But like Chief Poindexter said earlier, it's the volunteer piece is very troubled waters right now as far as people wanting to come out and volunteer. So we have to be creative on how we attack those.
And that's the biggest concern everywhere we pretty much go to do these studies is the people component, because everything is waning now. So.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate you for being open and speaking out today, because one of the things that I have figured out even within the last 6 months is that if you ask some people in the volunteers department, they'll tell you a story, and some of them will tell you another story. And I know that their work is so valuable. It's so valuable to me. I went through me losing my house. We even had a house fire over here. Thankfully, our house didn't burn down, but I had a house that burned down, and we had our businesses burned down when we were younger. But so I know the aspects of why not to charge people that are having a hard time already. I understand that too, but I also understand that here in the United States, most people do have insurances. So if you guys can help us with that, working with that, that would be great to hear too, because I know that when other things happen in other places where my family lives up in New Jersey, they get charged for those services. And over here, I know we want to provide services to our community, and we don't want to be bad to them either, but the rescue squad right now is actually making an income for the town of Christiansburg right now because we do charge for our services when we can. You know, there's sometimes where there is no way, and you just kind of just put it on the side burner and just kind of move on from that. But I do feel the pain of not paying volunteers right now. And I know one of the biggest reasons is probably because the quality of life is so much higher today than it was 2 years ago. And so I think just even going to the store right now, I mean, most people right now, both of the parents have to work to be able to afford to feed a family of 2 or 4 children. So that means that if you were able to volunteer your time before, you may not be able to do that today because now it costs you more to go to fill out the pump and more to buy food and more a house that's going to cost you probably double that you would used to pay 5-7 years ago. So thank you for speaking on tonight.
Anybody else have anything else? Last stream. Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for coming. I really do appreciate it. This is an important aspect. And I really appreciate everyone that chose to speak and voice an opinion. I think it really is important in the sense of how this community moves forward and that you do so together. And what we look at is, you know, what are we providing to our community and how can we better do that? And that's what we're here to do, is not to base, you know, some sort of judgment on whether or not you're doing your job at the correct level or you're doing a bad job or a good job. We're here to help you guys. And I know, you know, when you hear we're here from the state and we're here to help, it's a bad stigma. But that's truly what the board is doing. You know, all of these members come from different aspects of life but they have a lot of conglomerated knowledge on that really can help. And that's why these studies were originally created in the first place. So I think some of the individuals that didn't get to speak with us today will get to speak with us tomorrow, and maybe you get some more of your questions answered tomorrow as well. So we thank you all for coming, and seriously, if you guys have anything, I have a stack of cards up here. I'm like the main point of contact for the study. So if you have any questions, if you didn't want to speak, but you have some comments you would like to share, I would be happy to take those. They won't be included in the study in the sense of your name or anything like that. So please feel free, if you send me something, it will remain in confidence if you would like it to be, or if you would like something to be included or potentially included in the report, please feel free to come grab my card. You can call me on my work cell or my email. Please feel comfortable in doing that. With that being said, unless anybody has anything else, thank y'all for coming. Appreciate it.